So there's this character named Alexander the Alabarch, who is Philo's brother, and apparently he's extremely wealthy, and headquartered in Alexandria. This is why they became known as the Alexanders. And he funded the gates for the temple in Jerusalem. So here's a very wealthy Jewish family, and they're writing books. Philo's writing these extraordinary books, and then his brother is funding. So they, very involved in Judaism during that time. And then the Alabarch's son in Egypt had become prefect there. His name is Tiberius Alexander. And a very powerful person at this point. His father's deceased, Philo is deceased. So this person, Tiberius, is now extremely wealthy. Some claim that he's the wealthiest man in the empire at that point, having to do with taxes and customs, but also now has moved up the ranks of the Roman elite, which was apparently unusual for anyone who was Jewish, but his father also had Roman citizenship. So now you find this, they had a long-standing familial relationship with various emperors and other Roman authorities. And so eventually they become, Tiberius becomes friendly with Vespasian. So the Emperor Nero sent Vespasian to Judea to help out with the Jewish rebellion there. So in 66 AD or CE, Vespasian was responsible for trying to keep control there and set up his son to help him, son Titus, and also brought in, as Titus's second in command, brought in Tiberius Alexander from Alexandria, who was Jewish. So there's this Roman-Jewish interplay going on. They're trying to, of course, mitigate. They didn't really want to destroy Judea, but eventually what happens, of course, is the temple in 70 is completely destroyed. So these three figures were actually joined in their effort. They captured Josephus, the Jewish general. And so now we have these four players, Vespasian, Titus, Tiberius, Alexander, and Josephus. And by the looks of things, that combination with other people that we don't really know about, there's also this priest called Basilides who's in Mount Carmel, that this coalescence seemed to have brought about a dynamic that led to the synthesis of Judaism and paganism, and eventually became Christianity. So this is a very key time period. And of course then when Tiberius really basically elected Vespasian emperor, and after that point Vespasian has one of the more important careers as emperors, actually. We found that the Colosseum is built under him. He's hiring a number of historians to record this era. So that's a really important dynamic right there. Yeah, you actually find an interesting intermarriage going on. That was quite common for royalty or the elite to intermarry their children. In this case, we have Philo's brother Marcus is married to a woman named Berenice, who is a descendant of the Herod family. And she eventually, after Marcus dies, she has an affair with Vespasian's son Titus. So that whole group became very, very cozy, and they were extremely powerful. Not only the emperor, but also the wealthiest family in the Mediterranean at the time. The Alexanders in Egypt were heavily involved in business practices with the Herods in Judea. So there's also that connection. So we had the Roman contingent with the Flavians, we had the Alexanders in Alexandria, and we had the Herods in Judea. And those three locations were obviously incredibly important in the creation of Christianity. Think of Judea, but then actually I call Alexandria the crucible of Christianity. And then you can factor in Syria, and there was some connections with, of course, the Syrian elite as well in there. And Mount Carmel is a low, flat, long mountain on the coast of what is now Israel, and would have been Judea, Samaria, not quite Jordan, almost to Jordan, in that area. Now, it was a really strategic location because if you're passing along the coast, you have to go by Mount Carmel. If you're going anywhere from, like, say, Turkey or even Europe to Egypt by the land route, you have to pass by Mount Carmel. And Mount Carmel is like occupied apparently by hominids dating back 40,000 years, and there's, like, a possible religious significance from that period forward. So what we've discovered on Mount Carmel is a number of different cults had been established, religions, cults, sects, including, of course, Judaism after the Canaanite religion with the Baals. Mount Carmel eventually became a sort of spiritual melting pot. It had, in the era that we're interested in, first century or so, it had already not only a long history of Judaism and Jewish priestly endeavors up there, but also a couple of centuries of Hellenization with Greek religion as well. So there was an altar to the Jewish tribal god Yahweh, there's an altar to the Greek god Zeus, and apparently there was a priest up there named Basilides, who, that's a nice Greek name, but apparently he was also involved in Judaism, from what we can tell. But Vespasian went to Mount Carmel and met with Basilides, and there was he consulted the oracle, I should say Semitic gods, the oracle of Baal, and at that point, supposedly, according to Suetonius and Tacitus, it was decided that Vespasian was going to be emperor. The oracle apparently came up with some kind of prophecy that could be interpreted in that manner. So it looks like Mount Carmel had a very formulative effect also on this Roman Jewish effort, this syncretism, this hybridization that eventually came out of the region, but we find even within the union between Tiberius, Alexander, and Vespasian, or Titus and Tiberius, as well, even with Basilides. Basilides was half Jewish and half Greek. So right there you have a pagan Jewish syncretism that eventually expresses itself in Christianity. The rumor is that Vespasian went to Mount Carmel with the intention of synthesizing Judaism and paganism in order to put an end to the non-stop battling that had been going on. You see, in the Romans were very open to practically all religions, sects, cults, whatever you want to call them, all gods. Everybody was welcome. And that actually creates a great deal of harmony in the real world. If you are tolerant of everyone, even personal households had their own gods. And so you could have your god, I could have my god, and everybody could have their, so there's no fighting, there's no battling. But there was one stubborn people who would not allow anyone else to exist on the planet, who decided that they had to be dominant, however you want to put it. That would be the fanatical Jewish faction. And so you can imagine that when Vespasian was trying to find a solution to this rebellion, this battling between the Jews and the Romans, that he would go to a place like Mount Carmel with the express purpose of possibly creating a religious faction that would unite Judaism and paganism.